Wonderful. And here is a wonderful and very warm welcome to everyone in our crucial discussion about how to close the gender gap in the technology world together with our partners, Femtec.Alumnae, Nicole, Pia, Lelia from the network are here. And we from net4tec are very happy to be driving this discussion in a fundamental way since the first day we start operating. This was in April 2018. And this is a crucial discussion, right? Because we are now shaping our future in technology. And we have very clear dates and facts that are showing that only 24% of this technical world is driven by women. So if we really want to shape a future that responds and cover all the needs of the society, we definitely need to increase the number of women really having an active role and a decision-making role in this environment. That diversity, equity, and inclusion are absolutely vital for the success of our business. I think this is not a big discussion nowadays. There are so many studies, and we have been discussing that topic for so many years today that I think the relevance of diversity, equity, and inclusion is well known. There is an awareness and a sensitivity in the market as well about that, because with organizations, they embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion in all aspects of their operations. They outperform and show above average profitability as well. So diverse and inclusiveness is driving innovation, is driving change, and it's also driving a culture that allows us to be more happy and to enjoy better everything we do every day. And this is why we also launched net4tec 5 years ago as an international community of women and men from the technology world working together in order to shape a new phase of leadership in the technology world with the power of the community. I think you can see a short slide in order to see a little bit who we are and how we are working. And I would like to complete the picture because it's not only about women working together. net4tec is really an inclusive network. We embrace allies as one of the most important part as well of the impact we want to reach. And we are also very international. So what we think that there is also an asset for the discussion we drive in German-speaking countries, also to enrich our best practices with experts that think global and also can operate and act local in the DACH and the German-speaking countries. And as you see, one of the other USPs of net4tec is that we are a cooperation network, and therefore also I'm going to give the voice to Nicole in a few minutes, because this is the reason why we are here together. There are so many initiatives, we are so many communities working with the same mission, and we are aware that we only can get and fulfill this mission with the power of the community. And we understand the community in a very large way, not only net4tec, but also Femtec.Alumnae, and many others that also belong to our community. Like, for example, Women in Tech Global Movement, where I was as well the last 3 days in Paris in the Global Summit. And I'm very glad to also share some of the insights and the discussions with over 300 experts from around the world. So having said that, I will say that I don't want to put so much effort on who we are net4tec. You can discover that as well later. And I will say hello and thank you so much, Nicole, for being here and to present as well who you are and who is Femtec.Alumnae. And we are here together.
Thank you, Nia. Yes, really warmful welcome too from my side. My name is Nicole Rollinger. I'm a mechanical engineer and I'm working in the energy sector, and I'm part of the great Femtec.Alumnae club. And I will show you a little slide too, but it's deactivate Begonia again.
Okay, let's check. Maybe we have, let me go for the co-host. Sorry. Here we are.
Okay, no problem. Wonderful. It's a network about now 900 members, and we are founded in 28, and we have a strong vision. It's simple but big. We have the vision: women change society, and we are a network about women with technical or STEP background, and there we have many different regional groups or initiatives. For example, we go in schools to do experimental days with girls, and really more. So if you're interested, in the end, we have a part for time for a question. But our identity is a live network, promote career, and be a role model for us, and give women a room to grow beyond ourselves. Well, that's really shortly in one slide. So, but we have a really big program today, Begonia.
And I would say let's start discussing and going into the exchange with our experts today. And for that, I would like to introduce all the fantastic 5 experts we have here. It's a good number, I think. And we are glad to start maybe with the men to change the normal way to start the presentation. And we can do in ABC. So, Angel, I would say thank you for being with us today, and let us know who you are. Give us a short introduction of yourself, and maybe your 3 hashtags that moves you in your professional life or personal life as well, and maybe as well your motivation to be here and to speak about this topic together.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for the invite. I'm very happy to have been invited to such a nice panel and a very important topic, which is also very sensitive. So yeah, so just here to learn as much as the rest. And yeah, my background, I studied computer science and work for telecommunication industry right now at Deutsche Telekom since 5 years. And I've been leading diverse teams from, of multiple teams in the area of artificial intelligence. My motivation for being here, well, besides the generous invite from Begonia, was in my personal life. So my wife's studying gender studies. So she came back from university to study her second career, the Humboldt University, and she's studying right now ethnology and gender studies. So we've been having in the last year a lot of conversations about inclusion, diversity, and one thing that she's put forward is the fact that there needs to be a combined front, because it's not some particular aspects that just affect a certain population or minority, but it's something that we all could benefit from, and we all are stand to gain out of it. My hashtags, well, actually, I don't know, I would say it's so mostly regarding my personal work. I'm motivated by human-centric technology. So my other hashtag would be, probably with regards to this conversation, diversity, and my other hashtag, because of my personal life also, technology. So handing over to the next one.
and to Angelique. Thank you, Angel.
Over to me?
Yeah, it's the next A.
Awesome. Great. So a warm welcome from my side as well. My name is Angelique Mensch, and I'm super excited to be in this round. Originally, I'm an engineer. I studied industrial engineering with emphasis on petroleum engineering. So when I started off, I really started off hands-on. I was working offshore, operating big systems and assembling components top to down in my coveralls, so really true engineering work back in the days. And I developed myself to the point that I'm now a product manager for digital products, digital technology, anything cloud, anything machine learning falls under my domain at the moment in time. And yeah, that's about it for my background. I currently reside in Hanover. Originally, I'm from Central America, Honduras. And if I were to choose my 3 hashtags, it would be digital transformation. It would be hashtag diversity, equity, and inclusion, obviously. And I think the third one would be, it's time to make things accountable. So accountability in the industry. So much to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Angelique. I think the next one is Lelia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lelia. I also work for Deutsche Telekom. I'm currently a startup trainee. And at Telekom, I'm involved in, so in the technical perspective, I was involved in a lab setup for something called 5G Campus, so private 5G solutions that our B2B customers can buy from Deutsche Telekom. And more recently, I've kind of moved into the public and regulatory affairs department. And now I'm currently looking at topics like the EU AI Act. And before I came to Telekom, I studied mathematics and information systems management. And I was always working part-time in a software development team as well. And there I co-founded also a group for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we kind of initiated and held unconscious bias workshops for the whole company. And yeah, I'm an active member of the Femtec.Alumnae Association, very happily. And the topics that are really like my heart topics are, for the one hand, like network architecture. So how does the internet really work? Which is why I'm at Deutsche Telekom. And the other one is like ethics and responsibility in computer science. And that's also why one of my hashtags would be responsibility. So taking responsibility for your own actions, even when they're small ones, and not shying back from responsibility. The second one would be solidarity with other women and minorities, definitely. And the third one would be women in tech, because I'm one of them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. The next one would be Pia.
Yes, thanks. Also, hello from myself. So I'm Pia. I live in Frankfurt with my husband and 2 children. I'm currently leading an international software sales team at Cisco, which is spanning from Melbourne to Wales, so basically around half of the world. My academic background is in engineering, so I studied Wirtschaftsingenieurwesen, business administration, and electrical engineering at the Technical University in Darmstadt. And so with my background in engineering, I still started a career in sales, and I'm still here. And so why is that? So for me, bringing cool tech products to customers is a way to make their life with products and services better, faster, nicer, prettier, whatever you can do, and have a positive impact on society and the whole world and the future. So additionally to my work, I'm very passionate about diversity in tech, and I'm a long-term member of Femtec.Alumnae, in short FTA. So my hashtags are, so the first one is networking, and that is, I'm really a big networker, and that is on the social side, networking, bringing people together to achieve great things, but also I'm working for the biggest networking company in the world, so there's also the tech aspect. And I'm really passionate also about the importance of being a role model and inspiring as a role model. And I think we will come to that in our conversation as well. And the last one is KISS, and that's not the kissing, that's just keep it simple and short. So that's a rule of automation. And I think you can achieve a lot of things with that to just bring things to the point.
Wonderful, really to the point here. And Patrick, we over to you. Thank you for being here.
All right. Well, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me.
Go ahead.
It's great for having the opportunity to speak to you guys today. I'm Patrick. I'm the CFO of eGym. We are a global sports tech company in the fitness space, helping people to enjoy a better fitness experience and activate more people to go to the gym in the first place. I have also a bit of a non-traditional background. So I'm a computer scientist by training who turned finance. And then in this finance role where I'm now like in C-level roles for the last 15 years, for the last 10 years, I was also the acting chief human resource officer. So it's kind of like computer science, moving finance, and now covering HR. So interesting variety of topics, which I quite enjoy. I guess compared to some of the other speakers, I'm working in a little bit different kind of company, less established, much smaller. So to put things into perspective, we're about a little bit shy of 600 people, which is very nimble compared to Cisco or Deutsche Telekom. But, you know, of course, every company has its own set of challenges, and I'm happy to share some of the ones that we are dealing with. In terms of hashtags, I guess it would be technology, it would be growth, and my third one would be let's do the right thing.
Wonderful. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for being here. And this is the beauty of this panel, that we are very diverse, not only from the background, but also from the type of company and industries where we are working or where we bring the background, right? And I would like to give you the voice as well to Nicole to introduce yourself.
You? Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure.
More than in the beginning. Okay, thank you. Well, I already stated I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm studied at Stuttgart, and I'm placed here. Well, I'm still placed here. I'm working at ENBW, so terrible this short pronunciation in English. So, and I'm working as a product owner for a digital tool to improve the energy switch much faster than in the moment. Yeah. So yeah, and my 3 hashtags will be to be a role model. That's really important because in my past I had a lot of female role models, and that's really important. And the second one would be solidarity too. Solidarity. Yeah. And the third one is never and to be curious, because that's I think if you are studying in STEP or do a STEP job, to be less curious is it's not so funny in the end. Well, yeah, that's well, my presentation. Fiona, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. So I will just end the presentation with a short overview of myself as well.
Yeah.
My name is Begonia Merayo. I'm an entrepreneur on the areas of diversity and innovation. The mission of my entrepreneurship is to unlock the power of diversity for individuals, for teams and organizations. And we are a network of different experts on the areas of innovation, diversity, agility, and digitalization. And we work on diversity recruiting, so really bringing women into the leadership position, bringing the right talent and internationalization of teams in the companies, especially in the German-speaking countries. We also drive transformation processes with the lenses of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And community building is at our heart. Therefore, We not only support companies to build their own communities, but we also built net4tec as the international woman in tech community. My 3 hashtags, they are power of diversity, for sure. This is the real power we really set up for everything we want to reach in the future and today. The second one will be woman in tech. Yeah, I think I am an engineer by heart, even if by head I am a business woman with a business management background at the university, and actually over 20 years working in big corporates in the areas of brand management or innovation. But you know, woman in tech is really my biggest second hashtag. And the 3 one is together matters, because it's the power of network. You already mentioned Pia, and it's the power of collaboration. I believe we need a big ecosystem if we really want to change and disrupt the status quo for a new future. So having said that, and having this precious and fantastic diverse group of experts today, I will just kick off the first question, because I think this is everything about yourself, right? We have listened to your hashtags, to your focus on your professional life, but you are all here because you really want to embrace diversity, and you're empowering as well your teams and yourself and your organization to become more diverse. So the question will be, when did you decide to speak and empower yourself for this subject? Maybe you want to share with us some aha momentums that really open this world for you. And I will start with Pia. You are just right to my close. Go ahead.
Thanks, Begonia. So first of all, I think that when we talk about the gender gap and technology, you often get the comment, right? So we don't even have enough girls studying technology, engineering, and science. Yeah. And I totally agree. It starts early, and especially in Germany, kids' education and socialization is still very gender specific. And also additionally, the image of tech jobs is still a bit dusty, or call it nerdy. So how did I end up studying engineering? So first of all, I have an engineer's father, so I knew it's not scaring, right? So you can do it, it's possible. Nevertheless, after school, I was between studying fashion design or electrical engineering, right? So, which is quite extreme in the first glance, but actually the universities are pretty often very close. So that was interesting for me as well. But after I had an interview at a very big German fashion brand for an internship, the interviewer said, "Do you really want to study fashion? So then you will sit in the basement for a long, long time and don't get any money." So she gave me this great advice, and I think that's what it is about, and that's something that I want to give to other people as well, and that's why I want to talk about women in tech and so on. So she was like, study something proper, ordentlich in German, and earn some real money. So, and besides that, you can always keep your passion for fashion. And actually I did that, so. And besides, engineering may be very contrary, but I really think that technology, engineering is very, very creative, and we have the chance to really build something great there. So much from my side.
Thank you, Pia. Very exciting as well. And I have to say, my father wanted me to become an engineer, actually. Therefore,
you are not, Begonia.
I'm an engineer by heart. I think in my second life. Angelique, let us know about you. How was your aha momentum?
Sure. So growing up, I'm coming from Honduras. I changed different countries, and there's always some sort of notion of, men are the one that go and do engineering. But this was like, I guess, 20 years back, right? So we weren't as far developed into who we are today or where we are today. And I always believed in one thing: you yourself is the only person that can set your own limits. And if you start to not believe in yourself, that's when you fail. So keep believing and keep doing what you think is best, even when your teacher, professor, whoever says no, right? So along my career, I became a field engineer, and I was working in the oil and gas industry. And in 2016, there was a big downturn in the oil and gas industry, and I lost my job, right? I was working offshore, I was assembling these tools, I was, wearing my coveralls, I was mixing in with the men. And I decided to apply for a job which was working on an offshore drilling ship. And I called the HR lady and I said, hey, listen, I applied for this job. I'm just super nervous. I wanted to see, is there anything I can do? And she kind of asked me, like, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you want to work on a drilling ship? Do you really want to do that? And I could see that she was projecting her own insecurities or trying to protect me from an environment that she thought was harsh for herself, and therefore she wouldn't recommend anybody else do it. And that's when I was like, okay, she's kind of putting her limitations onto me, projecting that onto me, because she might still have these typical stereotypes of what a woman should be doing, right? And another aha effect that I had was once I moved on and I got a new job, I went to HR, and I was still quite naive in my career. And I said, hey, listen, I just wanted to check in and see, how is it if you're planning on having children? Like, should I communicate that to my manager just to make sure that everything's set in place? I just want to know the right way, but I was still quite naive. And then I think 3 months later, she had a chat with me and said, hey, Angelique, I'm really confused about you because you seem very passionate, you're very proactive, and we can see that you have the strength and that you're moving places. But 3 months ago, you came and asked me about children. And normally people that ask me about children are planning on creating a family in the near future. So I'm not really sure if I should continue to support your career growth. And that was coming from a woman. So I said, okay. We ourselves are imposing limitations onto each other. So it's time to stop with the elbow behavior, time to stop projecting and start supporting and seeing the potential and accepting that we have different career paths. And that's when I said, okay, let's go into women in technology and let's create a community that supports each other and not imposes limitations onto each other. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. This is, I think we can follow you. And maybe Angel would like also to come and just share his story with us.
Right. I mean, probably from a different perspective, I think that coming through, I obviously secondhand experience how institutionally there were some barriers for my female colleagues or classmates. Also, same as Angelique, coming from Latin America, so just even kind of a different perspective on the type of outlook that we have regarding how we portray the type of relationship you have with work, right? So it's so the first thing I experienced in Europe is that kind of like the whole concept of work-life balance starts with your inner cultural perception of what to work means like, right? That is an exchange from your services to money. And whereas, I mean, speaking for myself, it's in my cultural background, is more something as an opportunity that they grant you, as something you should be grateful for. And with that perspective, it feels like whenever there's certain disparity or different level, then it's easier to get lost in the details of all the different roadblocks that you get along the way. So I guess my aha moment was this contrast of, okay, so things shouldn't be this particular way, and if coming from a different cultural background sort of sets you already a little bit behind on the race or something, I can only imagine and empathize how would that feel like, with all this extra luggage, to call it one way, which shouldn't be reasons of discrimination, but in reality they are, like being female, being minority, being certain orientation. So that's all those things that seeing firsthand what does it mean to start the race a couple of miles behind I can only empathize what would it mean, what it mean like for the rest of my colleagues.
Thank you, Angel. Patrick, would you like to join the aha momentums with your own story?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm the one who can really speak about aha moments, given that I'm male, given that I'm not from a minority. So in this regard, I'm slightly in a different situation, but you know, it is what it is. I don't think I can change any of this. However, for me, it's when I think about like women in professional jobs, I mean, for me, it started more than 50 years ago because my mom was always a working mom. She never stopped. I don't even think she had a parental leave back in the day when I was born. And so for me, like I mentioned, one of my hashtags is doing the right thing. And, you know, I guess I can, my wife would confirm that I had probably a very fair share of changing nappies and doing all this kind of stuff. And now it's really more like in a business leadership position about enabling or providing an environment where, you know, female professionals can flourish, because I think some of the experiences you mentioned, like, you know, people having babies and this becomes a career stopper. I mean, this must not happen, right? And I think it's all of our responsibility to make sure that we create structures and environments where this doesn't happen again. And that's what I mean by doing the right thing, right? For me, it's about you know, helping women in their career in order to pursue a career, despite having a family. For me, it's not an either or, it's an and, but it comes at times at certain compromises, at certain conditions, and that's what it means for me. So yeah, so
yeah, do the right thing. It's a good hashtags. Patrick, thank you for sharing. And Lilia, last but not least.
Yeah, so for my aha moment, it's maybe important to understand like my background. So I went to an all-girls school in Germany, which isn't super like common in Germany, but there I really felt like there was no prejudice against women in STEM. Like we had 4 higher level mathematics courses. In parallel, we had a Leistungskurs Informatik, so computer science high level as well. And I just felt like there were no boundaries in this regard in school. And then I was actually in a very similar situation to Pia. I was in between choosing, when I went to university, choosing in between mathematics and English language. And for a very similar advice, I went for mathematics. And then it really hit me hard when I came to uni. So that was definitely my aha moment, like having hardly any peers who were women, or actually we started kind of with a good percentage of women, but the more women quit studying STEM subjects. I think especially for mathematics, I've seen studies about this as well. So yeah, having no female teacher at university and very few girls who finished the mathematics bachelor with me was definitely an aha moment, because it's just so obvious when you're the only woman in a room or in a meeting.
Wonderful. We see a lot of different aha momentums, right? From the choosing the right studies into just having emotional or personal stories as well on experiences, how you or where do you find your glass ceilings because you are different, right? And I just would like to share a little bit of my understanding how it's evolving as well in the time, because if I take a look at my own aha momentum and my career, for me, diversity was with water for the fishes, right? Because I used to work in an international environment. I used to study in France and work and live in different continents and countries. And I always never was at home, let's say like that. I was always different, but I was always working with so many different people and different backgrounds and cultures and men and women, and I never seen issue being different, let's say like that. And because of this water for the fishes, you only know what diversity means when you don't have any water anymore. And this was for me the moment when I became the children in Germany, when I started to understand that definitely I am something else, that they expect me to be if I want to pursue a career in the industry as a mom. And this is also something that makes me to reflect and think about, okay, it should be not an issue, actually, because this is also human capital. If you really want to pursue a career, if you have the ambition, why a company decides for you if you can or you cannot? Why a society decides for you if you can or you cannot? And I think this is also this kind of aha momentums that drive us to move mountains even, and to bring so many new open doors for all those people who really want to succeed, even if they understand their norms or the laws, how to do that in a different way. How was it for you, Nicole?
I'm looking a little bit on the time, Begonia.
Yes, yes, I also.
So maybe I'd just like to go ahead with the next question, because there's a lot of other things to discuss. So, but your motivation is really lovely, and in the end, it's the reason why you are today here in our panel. And we'd like to start now with the learning from best practices. And there was the first question: how do you address the gender gap in your organization, in your profession, in your team? And can you share there some successes and practices they had worked? And we'd like to want to see the different perspectives. Maybe Angelique, you could start with the perspective of the community, the impact of community.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's very important, what I've done in my roles, also leading global teams, you see that some women have the potential, but they're kind of hesitant to move forward. And what I've done is within the company, I've created, like, for example, the Women's Round Table, or I've created the Open Pages Book Club, where we just come together and really create a safe environment where we can talk about the issues or the challenges that we're facing, and understand that we're not alone in what we're facing, and it's not unique to me, because sometimes when you're facing this challenge, you tend to go down a spiral and you think, oh my God, it's unique to me, it's because of my person, and so on. But if you have a group where you can reflect on it and you can share your insights, what worked for me, what didn't work for me, how did I maybe experience the same situation, has really gone to fruition. So for example, and within my team, I had somebody that, I didn't want to directly coach. I wanted her to listen, to hear it from somebody else. And at the end of, I think, a year or so, she came out and she said, this has been really helpful, and she really wanted to move to the next level. And for myself as well, I've leveraged my community. I have 2 peer mentors, and this is also something that I think should be promoted more. When we think about mentors, we think about on an executive level, on a C level, right? But it's important to have a mentor that's maybe on your same level, because both of you are trying to get to the C level, and you're really in the nitty gritty, right? Somebody that's already there doesn't maybe remember how it felt or which path you took. So if you're working with a peer, they can create opportunities for you and visibility for you to go and achieve what you want to do. And that really helped me with my 2 peer mentors. Last year, I received 2 industry awards through their help, through the visibility that they gave me. So that's the value of community, of networking, being inclusive, and really being vulnerable and sharing your story, right? Regardless of how little or big it is, it still has value to somebody, and you can support that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Well, then Pia, you said you are a big networker at the beginning. What could you add to Angelique's perspective?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, closing the gap or diversity in general is not easy, right? It's hard work. And if you want to have an easy life as manager, I think in general, it's easier if you hire a non-diverse team, right? So if I would hire all my mini-me's, so like Thomas hires Thomas, Pia hires Pia's, and we speak the same language, eat the same food, right? Same jokes are funny, we have similar hobbies, right? So it's so much easier, right? But in the end, so there's also a why, right, for this topic. So if everything and everybody is the same, the business is running, but you're not bringing in innovation and growth to a company, a business, or even to your personal life, right? So for me, it's really important to hire diverse talents, and that can be basically everything, right? It doesn't matter, or everybody, sorry, it doesn't matter if it's an engineer or an artist, right? Someone who studied sport or fashion can also sell technology, right? Gender, seniority. So, and it is hard. It is really often hard to find these people and to find that diversity. But sometimes I prefer to wait a bit longer because, yeah, so there's much better results. Even there are also a lot of misunderstandings if you have diverse teams and a lot of rubbing and fighting and so on. But the end results are always, from my experience, better. And on the other side, so first of all, look for diversity when you are a manager and hire. And on the other side, what I also still see a lot is it is still a club of all the Thomases, Christians, Alex, Sebastians, and probably Patrick. Your name is quite often as well, right, of the world. And often in the company, it's a very, very closed circle and a closed table. And there's no seat at the table for diverse people. So if that is women or also younger people, right, or other cultures and so on. So, and my really advice there is, if you're not invited to the table, bring a chair to the table, right? So invite yourself basically to bring that change and do that change, and instead of just closing down and shutting down and being like, yeah, they're doing their stuff, go and get into that. So Angel, I think I'm handing over to you, your perspective of best practices.
Yeah, I mean, I think about this on a daily basis. I mean, it's coming from a bit more the pragmatic approach of the point, like leading teams is like all about like the processes and how to combine ways of doing things better. So one thing that was very clear to me is that just adding people to the teams, right? So just kind of like to mix it up and to get different perspectives is not enough if you do not address the paths of communication, right? So how somebody feels themselves with the confidence or with the authority to speak up or to express their opinion. And it's not only about like the gender difference, but also in different cultures is treated differently. And for somebody even noticing that some people might be quiet for different reasons, besides the confidence of maybe, okay, that's not my turn to speak, or it's more hierarchical. So addressing this underlying aspect on the team and building up this confidence, I think it's kind of like setting the, as you will call, first best practices, but also including or making the reflection on why, even though, as you were mentioning with your example of like the Patricks and the Toms and the Clubs, there's no denying that when there's homogeneous thought, sometimes things get faster, or sometimes like it's easier to align, or easier to, you almost feel like a communication runs smoothly. Whereas when you put a lot of different opinions, there's sometimes conflict, and there's sometimes slowdowns, and there's sometimes things to acknowledge that, okay, it's completely different, and why are we doing this to ourselves? We'll be better off if even things like the language, right? So speaking a similar language and being in a very traditional German company, if the first time I hear things like, "Oh, can we all switch to German?" And it's like 1 or 2 people German, the rest like foreigners, and it's like, okay, well, sure, we can do the effort, but at some point, it's also an effort for us to switch back and forth to the languages. So acknowledging the differences, acknowledging the priorities, and creating a safe environment for those to play a role, while at the same time highlighting that, yes, it's an extra effort, and yes, of course, you will have maybe a little bit extra time to adapt, but the goals or the objectives with a diverse mindset, if you lay down kind of clear from the beginning, look, there's the same way that you will acknowledge things like, okay, you have worked in this company, how do you do things in your company? And you work in that company, how do you think differently in your company? Highlighting that part also brings these benefits the short term. So highlighting what the difference in mind and thought, bringing a concrete example for that exercises like building up team building and stuff, it's very important. And I would just kind of like refer to these 3. So establishing the purpose, tying it to the objectives, and acknowledging that, yes, it's an extra effort, but this is the extra benefit. I would say that those are things that have to some extent worked for me.
So it's okay to wait sometimes to hire a more diverse team, how Pia said it. Yeah, that's maybe Pia, you could answer the question from Leah in the chat, because I think it's a match at this point of the discussion. She asks, bringing a share, it's really a beautiful sentence, to the table of all Christian, Thomas, etc. means you are already in the room. So the question is how to enter the room and how to get tired.
Yeah, I would say if you're talking in these pictures, how do you enter the room, right? You need the key basically to get in and bring your folding chair. And I think the key in this case is a lot in collaboration and networking again, right? And Angelique mentioned mentorship as well, right? Find people who tell you about these parties and about the tables and about how the dinner parties are going, how the lunches are going, right? And that is one thing. So always be very, very informed and have people who inform you as well. So that's how you then get the key, and that's how you find out about the party happening.
Can I add one more thing?
I also wanted to add something. Go ahead.
So yes. I think one of the things that also helps is create that visibility for yourself, right? Stop being humble. Go out and create the visibility for yourself. Normally, when we think about visibility, we think, oh, but then, I'm gloating and I'm promoting myself and it's going to be seen as this or that. No, be comfortable with being judged, because when you're going places, people will judge you. But you need to learn how to be comfortable with that and also be reflective upon yourself. If that's the right direction, don't hurt any puppies. That's what I always say. Don't kick or hurt any puppies, but create that visibility for yourself and be comfortable with people judging you and maintain your self-reflection and your mental health during that phase.
That's really good advice. Can I also add one point? So I think that if we want to stay in this picture, the 2 points of Pia and Angelique, the networking and the increasing your visibility kind of leads to someone who's already in the room opening the door for you. When they can think of you, when they know about you. But I would also say that maybe to stay in this picture, opening the door with brute force from the outside is also quotas, right? That's not like someone opening the door from the inside, but that's the door being opened for you from the outside.
Yeah. So then Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, it's I'm listening to a lot of things you're saying, and I realized life sometimes in very large companies is different. And I don't want to say it's better or worse. It's just different. And I think what we're trying to do in a somewhat smaller environment is really create like, equal treatment, equal chances. So we don't have any kind of like salary gap, same function, same pay, period. Very simple. We also, in terms of hiring, we hire a lot of people, we're growing fast, and it's whether we want to hire females is not even a topic. Of course we do, right? And I think overall, I think we're now, if I take, there are two particular functions which is really difficult if you recruit a lot, to get a lot of female applicants in, and all of you won't be surprised. Engineering is tricky, and sales is not very easy either. And so Pia, if you ever want to change jobs, but in all the other functions, I think we are now like we are approaching 50-50s. I think we are now slightly above 40% female quota. But this is not because we give ourselves quota. We don't have any quotas. As a matter of fact, we don't believe in quotas. And I know this might be an unpopular opinion, but it's we try to create an environment where people flourish and along the lines what I described before. And we see females progressing as a natural outcome of what we do here. But it's not like if we hire now for a certain position, we want to have the best candidate available. And for us, we care a lot about diversity, but not only about male-female diversity. I mean, we are servicing global markets. We have, I think, just in Munich, we have, I think, people with 35 different passports. You don't have to speak German to work in Munich at our company, not at all. And a fair share of people don't do it. We also some might put us in the startup bucket, which I guess at almost 600 people, it's not really fitting anymore. But we have a lot of people older than 50. We hired people older than 60. I think this is also an element of diversity, different backgrounds. And then I agree, then you really get better outcomes. But, for us, it's really, we try to change what we do and how we do it, but we don't enforce it by, there is an opening in marketing, this needs to be a female or whatever, something like this. This is not how we do it.
Okay, so you think more than to a bigger picture than only the gender diversity. And when we go ahead to the instruments to arrive the diversity, Patrick, what's about community? Which impact gives this instrument for you, to your opinion?
Yes, we obviously we are engaging in different community activities. We have quite a few people who are super active on I never get the abbreviations right, LBT, so lesbian, gender, trans, gay community. So we've got a few people who are very active there. We even have, I think last Christopher Street Day we had like our own a car at the parade and all of this kind of stuff, right? We try to foster like women engineering if there are like events at university, but it's we don't necessarily see strong direct impact from this. I think the biggest impact we see is, again, comes down to trying to do the right thing, and people and word of mouth helps you to attract people, other people, like-minded people, and we're seeing super low churn rates, and which probably means that we do a few things right, because people like to stay working for us, which I guess is a good thing. But again, I can't say, oh yeah, we do this in order to get more female applicants. I'd love to see more female applicants, especially in engineering functions. But that's a big undertaking, and probably we need to start in kindergarten, along the lines of what Pia was telling at the very beginning of the meeting today.
Yeah. So maybe Pia, you could add something. Oh, we didn't hear you.
Pia?
You muted.
Sorry. Yeah, about community, it brings it back to networking again, right? So for me, the community is very important in all aspects. So, and I'm a long-term member of the FTA, which is a network for women in STEM, right? So basically, we created our own party 15 years ago, or our own table. Which I think is also okay. There, every now and then I'm skeptical about it. And I think there's some chat going on as well about sponsorship, mentorship, and so on. The network has a lot of male sponsors, supporters. We are always looking for more, by the way. It's also something which is a bit challenging still, that in a community or with communities, men really say, I stand for that, right? I support a female network, I support females. Everybody says they do it, but if it's about putting it on your business card, that's going a bit slower. And so all three pillars of the club are, for me, very important instruments to close the gender gap. So the first one is the networking, and that is internally and externally, like broaden your horizon, right? Talk to all kind of different people, and that is within our club, but also with all of the networks we are working with. So for example, net4tec. And then the promote careers is the second one, and that is education, right? So or by tendency, women are probably like they're over-educating themselves, but nevertheless, there's also a thing that all these training seminars and so on, especially in a time when women get children and so on, they start to read less, they start to educate themselves less. So that is something which is important to continuously do. And last but not least, be a role model, right? Bring other women into tech to close that gap.
Yeah, it's really true. And then Angelique, we here in the chat is already a sentence to mentorship and the difference to sponsorship. Maybe you can explain a little bit to sponsorship and why it's so important.
So mentorship is somebody that mentors you, that guides you, that provides, there for you, that you can openly speak to and just seek guidance. Sponsorship is somebody that will go, maybe, I don't know if I would say a step further, but somebody that will promote you within the company, right? They know what you can do, they know what your skills are, they know what you're good at, and they also know where you want to go. So if you have to voice what you want the next step to be, and people will start listening, and then somebody will sponsor you when they're having HR, when they're having reviews about which new roles need to be adapted or which new roles need to be requiring new people. Then somebody that promotes you and says, hey, I know this person X, Y, and Z, they're really good at this and that, they're seeking to go the next step. That's somebody who is a sponsor. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah,
perfect.
This was also a very good discussion we had the last 3 days in Paris, and the conclusion is that women are definitely over-mentored and under-sponsored, right? Because at the end of the day, what we need is someone who plays our name in the room where we are not in, right? And what we need is to take action. And Pia, you mentioned that women are overqualified because we tend to be competent in all the areas we think we want to succeed. And maybe here we need to be more coming to action and then just learning on the job. And we have discussed a lot of good instruments and best practices that really push us forward and bring us forward into this big mission to close the gender gap. But we know that there are a lot of barriers today because we are far from this 50-50 goal. Worldwide, there are countries that are doing better. There are countries that are still suffering. And to be honest, the German-speaking countries, we still have a long way to walk, maybe more than others. They are neighbors in Europe. And I was really impressed, I have to say, though, that France had 48% women on boards. And even if they have a quota per law, which is 40%. So this was also an aha momentum I had during the last 3 days in Paris. But let's come to the barriers, because from one part, we know about the potential. We know that we are all on that journey. We know as well that diversity is not a goal, it's not a destination per se. And Patrick, you already mentioned how difficult it is sometimes to reach gender parity compared maybe with other dimensions like age or cultural background or different backgrounds in their knowledge. But if we take a look at the different reports, we also see that there are a little bit of fatigue in the companies. The employees, they are a little bit splitted, and they are not always very happy to listen to the word of diversity because we speak so much about that and it happens so less. So let's go into that point, and I would like to go a little bit more in the deep of this discussion. Which are the real barriers? Where is the real limit, which is really holding us to go forward? And I would like to start with you, Lelia. You are a young talent starting your career, and I think your fresh eyes are very, very interesting for our discussion or for our learning.
Yeah, so concerning this diversity fatigue, it's definitely there, but also at university, I would say. But to be honest, I don't really understand it, and I don't really like. Those people need to get over it, in my opinion. Like it's still a topic until we have we got rid of all these inequalities. That's my opinion on the diversity fatigue. But if you ask like the glass ceiling, or like where do we want to go and what are the limitations that we experience. So I think, to be honest, sometimes the boys club kind of at the top of the power pyramid is still a limit. Even when you're at the bottom of the pyramid, you don't really see it or you don't experience it. But yeah, it's a power question in the end, right? And I think that missing representation is also a limit, and the affinity bias that I think Pia mentioned in the beginning. So we hire people who are like us. That's also definitely a limit, a limitation. And yeah, it's just excluding people from certain fields or roles that when they don't even think that it could be an option for them. And the boys club and power structures I've definitely also experienced. So you don't need to be on a C-level of a company to experience this really subtle feeling of being left out. It's little things in everyday office life, I think, that can lead to this feeling. Yeah.
Thank you, Lelia. Yeah, coming from the studies and speaking about this boys club, Patrick, you have a very diverse background. You have experience in many different companies, and the boys club is also, yeah, it's a name, right? You may know, and maybe it's something that it has evolved with your experience today. So what do you think? Is really the sky the limit, or where is the limit?
Yeah, I don't believe there is a simple answer that does the trick, right? Because do you have many companies where you have a C-suite with 100% male? Yes, you do, right? Is this ideal? No, it's not. Would it be better if we now force by quota to have 50% female? Absolutely not. Because if you are sick and you're a doctor, you go to hospital, you want to have the best experts who treat you. And I strongly believe, just kicking out some old white dudes in order to bring in some young females, it sounds great on paper. good luck with those companies. I think what we need to do, we need to focus much more on females having the experience, having the skills in order to then kick out the old white dudes, not because they're female, but because they're better. And I don't think we achieve, again, I mentioned this before, I'm not believe in maybe a very large company setting might be different because their talent pool is very large. This might be different. But if you speak about smaller organizations, I have a hard time believing in just the power of quota, so to say. And I think I also believe like some of the fundamental issues of society we shy away from. Bego, you mentioned France has 48% women in business. Well, what is the number one thing where France is so different than Germany, for example? That's childcare. And it's every woman, for every young mother, it's totally normal to be back in the office latest 6 months later. And I don't think if that's the case in Germany. And I'm not talking about from a old white man perspective. I'm just listening also to all the female employees on what they envision. I mean, many of them want to spend more time at home and then want to focus more on this part of their life where it's about being a young mother and then come back. That's very different in France. And I think this is a matter of society and a question of society. And society in Germany fails big time to implement a childcare structure that would do the trick. And I think everybody who's a mother or a father on the line probably can confirm this.
Yeah. I would like to challenge this position, if I may.
Sure.
I think the exact opposite would actually be happening. If we had a quota kicking out, like you said, very kind of stereotypically, but let's put this idea to work, the old dudes to have an equal percentage filled with young women, then the companies would actually force the politicians to give the women the opportunity to have this, because the childcare situation isn't just not there because the women don't want it. It's not there because it's not there. So women mostly don't have the opportunity to give their children away, and it's not changing anytime soon. So I have like a 1-year-old, and I know the challenges of getting a spot. You need to call 10 different childcares for weeks to get the spot when the child is 1 year old. Normally, you're just getting it when it's 2. So there is no option for it. And I would really suggest to not put the kind of ambitions of women to get back to work early to reasonable to give a reason for why the childcare situation is that bad. I think is the reverse. And if we don't challenge the companies with the quota, it will never change, because the women crying out, it's not loud enough. It needs to be the economy.
Let me jump in there. Yeah. Because I think it's a perfect handover, right? So to think about what are the barriers, right? So, and all of you now mentioned, and I think everybody in this room agrees that especially in Germany, there's a lot of stereotypes still in society about men and women and mothers and fathers, and that's in family and workplace. And that is something where I think we all have to work on, right? And that is the thing why I think there's social activity and being in clubs like Femtec.Alumnae and so on is very important. And so for me, there's also the part, France was mentioned, right? But not just France, also other countries. We have to learn from them, right? So, and take good parts from them. Maybe there's also some bad parts in some of the countries, to be honest, and a lot of things that Germany is doing very well. I also think from the structural perspective and everything, I was at the ladies drinks last night, and there were a lot of very international ladies, and they were all like, it's amazing. free education, cheap childcare for basically everybody, even we were making a big fuss about it, how complicated it is to get a spot. But compared to a lot of other countries, it's amazing. And also the pricing, right? So it's not just for the top 100 who get a spot because they pay a lot for a nanny and so on. So, and with that, so one thing I've really experienced as a mother in the workplace, and I'm over 10 years at Cisco, and Patrick, you said there are differences between small and bigger corporations. I think, unfortunately, not enough, right? Probably the smaller ones have a bit more flexibility, but I'm in one of these big American organizations, so really stands for diversity, is doing a lot for the society, and I will sign that all the time. But in Germany, 10 years ago, I went back to work after 8 weeks. I was the first and only one still in that company. People couldn't understand it. There was bets about it that I wouldn't come back and I wouldn't be able to handle that. But the crazy thing is that there was not even any chance for a family room or anything. Like an IT company, everything was in glass. I couldn't breastfeed or anything. And yesterday, and that is something which we have to celebrate as well. Yesterday, I was in the office and it was announced that now, after my daughter is turning 10 in July, there will be a family room in the office, right? And I hope that this is like bringing the way as well. And that is just my call out. It took maybe a bit too long, the 10 years, but I really think we have to fight for these little things and also be a role model there, right? Be the first one with some things, be the first one who is maybe behaving a bit French or who is maybe behaving a bit Swedish or something, where the men stay home much longer as well. So yeah, really, yeah, I'm missing the English word at the moment, but den Weg ebnen für junge Frauen auch. This is, I think that's important.
Paving the way.
Yeah,
Paving the way.
paving the way.
Paving the way and walk the talk, right? Because if we want to change something, we need to start changing ourselves with some behavior. And I need to think about one example we discussed yesterday, and this is it's a very simple thing that always very little things have always a big impact. And one of the network, she was telling the story, she started to work in a company where everyone was wearing jeans and a hoodie. And she used to wear nice dresses, makeup, and high heels. And she refuses to start wearing jeans and hoodie like the others. So she just was keeping her own styling every day. And he was told from many different colleagues and superiors and all the levels, don't worry, you don't need to stress yourself. You can go and come with jeans and hoodies, you know, feel free, don't feel like you need to, you know, dress you up. And she was saying, no, I'm not dressing up. This is me. This is like I am. And this is how I come in every day. And after 1 year, she told us that 30% of all the women started really to dress like a woman. So she started also to come with dresses and with makeup and with whatever they wanted to wear, but not with trousers, not with jeans and hoodies. And I think these are these little things. And Angel, you mentioned that this is also creating the space where you can be yourself as well, because we tend to harmonize, to be part of a group and to dilute as well our own style. And this is not only about keeping our own style, it's also speaking up, right? Having the courage to bring our ideas into the discussion and not following the most of or the dominant person giving or providing the solution how to move forward. And I think, thank you, Pia, for coming with an answer as well to your question about, I think, I don't remember who was questioning it, but I think it was Marina.
Sorry, can I jump in with one more question? If you were going to go to the closing statements, I'm not sure if I found the right moment.
But not really, we are still speaking about the barriers.
Okay,
so
because yeah, no, I wanted to ask a question, like really out of curiosity. Does anyone know what like what's the average parental leave time that men take in France? Because I really don't agree with this narrative that childcare is only a women's job, and that like if we split the parental leave time half and half, then we wouldn't have this discussion of, oh, women can't come back to work, or they might leave for longer. I don't know, maybe we'll still have it to some extent, but not to the extent that
Can I comment on that? Because sure. Like I must say, like, I'm very positively surprised. Right now I know 5 guys that are going to go on parental leave for more than 2 months. So I think that is changing, and men are now feeling more comfortable and also understanding that it's okay to take parental leave and that it's not being frowned upon. So I think that is a culture that is changing heavily in Germany for sure.
Yeah, but this is something that is really changing, and this is really evolving. And to give you an example, Elia, this is not only an decision of the families itself, there's also a political decision. If you take the example of Spain, Spain has a law now, men have to take the parental leave, the law. And this is a completely structural change. It's a disruption, right? Because if you take the sample of Germany, men going into parental leave, men going into part-time jobs, they are suffering the same mobbing and the same discrimination that women suffers. So this is where we are today. So we are on the way, and I think there are solutions, like you mentioned, and thank you so much that you pointed out as well the responsibility of the parents, and that we are changing the narrative as well, because I can tell you my kids, they are 17 and 16. So it was 2006, 2007 when I became a mother. And at that time, I founded the Working Moms because I was alone. I was really alone as a woman who wanted to pursue a career having children. And today is something like it's more normal. And at that time, we didn't speak about the father at all. Today, we are changing the narrative. So I'm confident that we are moving in the right direction, even if we have a lot of distance still to walk, let's say like that. But Angelique, I would like to speak with you as well to another perspective, speaking about barriers. Because if we go into the company culture, if you want into these male-dominated environments, and there are a lot of studies, they show that sexism and microaggressions at the working place is one of the major barriers for women to pursue a career in tech, in the hard tech, like you did in offshore, right? And it's even one of the major obstacles in the university at the studies time. So I would like that you share your experience on that.
I think one thing that I really want to say in that context is men need to start moving away from the idea that women need to be nurturing, right? So if you're a female, or it doesn't matter who you are, right? If you're assertive and you know what you want and you're able to give clear messages, still being tactical, not being aggressive yourself, right? People take that as intimidating if it's coming from a woman, right? And we see that leads to microaggressions, right? When a man does it, he's assertive, he knows where he wants to go, he leads the way. When a woman does it, oh my God, she's being a bit too much, she's being she's being emotional, this, that, and whatever. And we need to move away from that. And we need to accept and also realize that women can be assertive as well. Women can position themselves and have leadership positions, but we don't have to be super soft and fluffy, right? We can also be strong and assertive and move forward. And I think one of the things that I remember also from a colleague from us, net4tec, Cecile, she said, when a woman comes in and she gets evaluated by her manager, they start off saying, oh, you bring in so much positive energy to the group and you're always cheery and this and that. And it's like, no, like don't judge me by, you're supposed to judge my competence and not like my character. Would you do that to a man? Would you tell him, oh, you're super happy and jolly and you make people smile? You would never say that to a man, right? And I thought that that was quite adequate, actually. And that's also a sign of microaggression. And she made me aware of that, because I see that in the day-to-day as well. Women are being judged on different parameters than men, right? And also you see that men are always promoted for the potential they might have, because they are not afraid of showing who they are and being assertive. And women have to prove themselves more because they're being judged on who they are today, but not seen on who they can be tomorrow.
Yeah. Speaking about the stereotypes, this is always a good question and a good point, because we speak about unconscious bias stereotypes. They really are glass ceiling, unconscious glass ceilings. We go to the Gen Z and ask them for what are their real glass ceilings, and they tend to say, but there is no glass ceilings, right? I'm a woman, I have the same chances, and I know what I want and I get it. So they have the impression they are equal, they get the same payment, they get the same salary, the same chances, and the world is open for a career. But reality, it's beliefs for breakfast, we could say that. And I would like to come back to you, Patrick, and think about, and yeah, Angelique, we wanted to add something.
Yeah, just one thing really quick, because you mentioned payment, right? And I think that's also a form of, for example, when you go to your manager and you're a reflective person, you're doing really well at your job, you've done all your networking, you've proven your worth, right? And you go to your manager and then they say, oh, well, but you're not ready yet. Most people in that situation, they don't challenge that, they just accept that. And if you challenge that and you say, well, what do you mean I'm not ready yet? Could you quantify that for me? When will I be ready in your eyes, right? Then they start to like mumble because they don't know what to say, right? And we as women, we shouldn't accept you're not ready. We should challenge it and say, listen, what qualifies me to be ready then? If what I'm doing already is not enough, I'm doing more than my colleagues, you know? Yeah, sorry, just wanted to add that in there.
I love that. And I take the point challenge the reality, right? And this is also what I wanted to challenge now, the reality, with all these good efforts and ethics and everyone that you will ask about the point, yeah, well, women, for sure, we are tolerant, go ahead. I want to have a lot of women and have a very diverse team. But then the reality comes, and we know the figures, and we know that there is still far away. So what do you think from a men's perspective, Patrick? Where are the real limits? Where are the real barriers?
I think it really depends on the organization. I could easily see their famous glass ceiling and very established companies, very the same structures, no big change. It's super difficult to get around this. I do have a slightly different view and maybe also a different piece of advice. I don't believe in government quotas, but I really believe, and I would like to encourage everybody, why are you holding on to a career in an environment that is not supporting your talents and doesn't let you flourish? And I would like to strongly encourage people like to look at more dynamic, more flexible environments where maybe some of the challenges that you're facing today in large organizations have been already overcome, at least partially. And rather than like, I hope I'm not stepping on anyone's toes here, as I don't know where their other participants are working at, but let's say a very traditional established German company, I'm pick Siemens. Not sure if someone from Siemens is on the line, but it has the reputation for being not very flexible. And if they are, move on, right? It's there. We are in a world of where there is war for talent. Your talents will be appreciated elsewhere, and you might have a way better career outlook as a woman and in companies that appreciate you more.
Can I add something to that? Because I really love what you just said there, Patrick. We're not trees. We're not rooted to one location. And I think what you just said there really makes sense. Like you need to decide, You know, am I going to be more appreciated in a startup, in a global company, in a more regional company? Where am I going to be most appreciated? And then really take the decision to move on and not see it as a failure, but see it as a lessons learned, right? Because a lot of people tend to stick to a place because they're like, oh, if I leave now, how is it going to look? And have all those worries. And that's one of the things that's happening to me at the moment. I changed companies, I'm not happy. So I'm looking for a change, right? Because I realized this, I'm not getting what I want and what I need to be myself. And I think that's a very important decision to make for yourself, and just take the leap and not feel like a failure.
Very good point. And I think this is also something that is in our responsibility. And we see that this question is very complex and have different perspectives, right? And this is not just the responsibility to give to an organization to say, okay, the organization needs to care for me. But I loved your point, Patrick. Thank you for that. And at the end of the day, we also need to take decision, because we can not only complain and be unhappy. And Angelique, yes, go for it. And I think for competent women with a mission, they can really own their own career. Nicole, you want to go forward? I think we moved to the next stage, and we have the last minutes in our discussion, but it's going deeper and deeper.
Yeah, it's necessary. There are a lot of interesting questions too in the chat, but yeah, we will see. So, well, in the end, let's talk about breaking barriers. We have talked about best practice, about the barriers itself, but how to to open the door, to put the chair to the table. I like this picture, and they're really short. We would like to ask every one of your speakers, what's the key learning for you in your personal story? What are the opportunities for lateral entry? How did you get in or out as a woman in tech industry, or how you supported women? And yeah, who has to make the right decision in the end? Well, maybe Angel, you first, because you had not enough space in the last minutes.
I was very happy to listen to the comments of the panelists, because it's also very instructive. So I'm personally learned a lot. So in this discussion, I think that yeah, so the ceiling and the main barriers are multidimensional, right? So it's not just about, okay, let's just do this fix or just this quick fix. So I tend to agree a bit with what Patrick was saying. The quotas just for the sake of the solution might lead to unintended consequences, because it's a very complex problem. And just, yeah, normally when you apply simple solutions to complex problems, you tend to, to inadvertently sometimes hurt more than help. I mean, just in the topic of paternal leave, completely agree. So I, coming from a country where that doesn't exist, like some people mentioned, like in the States, it's kind of optional and infringed upon. The same. So when I had my kids here in Germany, I took 6 to 8 months with each. So it was for me a fantastic experience. And of course, there's a lot of ways where I unconsciously see that culturally we were pre-programmed for these roles of, okay, the nurturing and the provider and so on. And that ties up with some of the behaviors that we see also in the workplace. But what I've seen positively, and I know this does not apply to something, but just as a positive example, when I was in academia at the University of Oldenburg, there was something that caught my eyes. Was, for instance, there are certain requirements to move on in the ladder, for example, from assistant professor to professor and so on. And one of those was quota in terms of papers that you would have to deliver. And there was one kind of asterisk to say, like, well, because the rate was, okay, you take 1 paper per year, for example, publication. So if you would have kids, then per kid would count as a paper, right? Even though it was kind of like a silly comparison, but at least it will acknowledge the fact that if you take maternity leave or paternity leave, then that took away physically that time, that year where you actually could have done that work, and therefore doesn't mean that you have to be left aside just to pay a penalty on having a family. And I thought that was a very positive experience and attitude. So I think that small changes or acknowledgements like that in the workplace would be very good to take into consideration for promotions of the workplace, you know, to have the same type of assessment or adjustment could be done. And yeah, so I was very happy to see how people would see it from a holistic perspective of it's not just about men versus women. So Patrick mentioned something that got me thinking as well, in the sense of, yeah, I mean, we at our company, same payment, same work, same payment. But I think that in the context of, okay, what opportunities get to a person to get to the same type of role, that's probably when the inherent or invisible pay gap exists, which is harder and harder to sort of acknowledge and in the open. So I think that, yeah, so to come with a solution has to be at the policy level, at the cultural level, at the role level, and all those things tie very well with what the rest of the panelists say. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the intransparency of the different levels. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Pia.
So I would say in general, stay with your passion, right? Because you've also asked about lateral moves and changes. And so I can just give some personal experience as well. I mean, I mentioned in the beginning the fashion industry example. So even I'm in tech, I studied tech, I'm in IT, I'm in sales, which is all very male dominated and so on. I also founded my own fashion brand, right? I've had several businesses, which you would call today startups. I don't know. That's just a new trend, right? And so for me, it's always about, similar, like you said, Angelique, right? Just like, if you don't feel good anymore somewhere, just change, right? So, and I think that's also a big benefit of, as much as we in German we can complain a lot, right? It's also a cultural thing we really like to do. We complain a lot about things, but I think we have a lot of freedom as well to do a lot of things, to found companies, to change jobs, right, without ending up on the street, right? So there's still a very good social system and healthcare system and so on. So take that freedom and stay with your passion, while showing the world that women can do the same as men, basically, or better sometimes. I think Patrick even said that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe Begonia, I don't want to cut the other two both, but maybe we do the summary statement. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think one of the questions has been also said here in the chat, and this is also a crucial question as well, because if we really want to close the gender gap, and if we say technology is really driving our future, so technology is sustainable, and then now women's career in technology are therefore sustainable as well, was one of the questions, how we ensure that we get the chance for women to entry in the technology world, even if they have not a technology background, even if they are now in another sector. So that means that they have already a career behind, so they are not the youngest one. And maybe the question was even more complex because Leah was also combining two different dimensions, having children's, being maybe over 40 or having already a career behind you. So just entry from a parallel open door into this industry. And I think this is also a crucial answer we need to find, because the shift of women into the technology world is necessary and is sustainable. So we are going to do that, all of us, anyhow. We are already in, and for all of them, they are not in, they are going to come into. So which are your experiences on that, and which will be your recommendation on that?
Angelique, it's a hand or a clap?
It was a clap. I thought
it was a clap.
I mean, maybe to jump in there, I think these lateral moves and so on. So this thing was, so by tendency and from statistics and so on, right? Women study more. What did you say, Lelia? English or German or like languages and things, right? Or become teachers and all that. But I think that doesn't matter, right? So there's a saying in German as well, you don't study for the grades, you study for yourself, right? So I think in the end, like I have colleagues who studied art history. I've also, by the way, studied art history during working, and I was like, maybe I should have done that. But I still notice that my way of working and so on is very influenced from the tech thinking and so on. But nevertheless, I think anyone can do tech, right? So especially today, in today's world that we are so close with technology. And I've had this really, I just want to share it because I really loved the like approach and so on. Like, I'm not sure if anyone knows this app, Who Cares? If not, you should download it. A pretty interesting concept, and it was 2 women, I've contacted them, who are completely out of their working in a Frauenhaus and are doing social things and so on, right? Completely different role. And they were like, yeah, we really thought this app is missing, and they programmed that app themselves. So they got people together who taught them and so on. So, and they were like, we never thought we were app developers, right? But I think that can happen wherever, right? So I don't especially think technology breaks down barriers, and that's what we should use it for as well, in all kind of varieties, right? To break down the diversity barriers as well.
How do you see that, Angela? You are also in a team working in a technology company. Do you see that shift already? You are working for a very large company, so I mean they are also dealing with different profiles coming into the different layers of technology jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's change is happening, but part of the whole part of being a big company is that it will be so a mistake thinking that the culture is you know, like homogeneous. It's more like an ecosystem of different mindsets, different people, and it could be that in your team it's already catching up and a kind of like very progressive, and it's a good example. But there are also other areas that's a bit more conservative or more so it's not catching up as fast. So I think it's hard to generalize. I mean, I think that one of the important aspects is that the signaling, right? So the accountability. So there's these phrases, the fish rots from the head. So at least in the board level and the top high, we see good examples, right? So in the board, it's, I don't know if it's 50 or close to 50% of female representation, but at least it's good signaling, right? So, and it's not just to be confused with virtual signaling, because it's not just, you know, yeah, okay, so the whatever position that we created for a woman to fill in is just like the more impactful areas of the company are led also by female, right? So, and that's I mean, from any perspective, when you see that type of signaling, I think that it's a bit of a good step in the right direction, even though probably some of those messages would need to be implemented at every level and with a bit more reinforcement, more accountability. But I think so that's my take on that. So that, yes, it's a big company. Yes, you can find everything, but at the very least, I think that the vision is there and the examples are there.
Great point. And I think for the point of view of the networks, and maybe you can also support that for the FTA, is that we have a lot of members from different industries, and they are very good sparring partners for all the women. They are now thinking on coming into these industries, because they have also the view from the inside of the companies, and they can also provide guidance and also help those women to really come into this technology world. And for sure, technology is also a very large meaning, right? There is not only about having the core competence of software development or engineering. You also have a lot of different roles on the change management, or just communicating the different communicating between the different departments and the different languages, and making sure that all those new developments are in the right direction. So I think this is also a great opportunity. For sure, not an easy thing, because it's a culture behind that is very much driven by competencies and backgrounds. So we need to be a little bit thinking out of the box in order to succeed on that. So I think we have a brilliant discussion, and today now it will be great to just have the latest statements from your part. So if you want to summarize the essence of your learning, or the call to action you want to give to all of those who are going to be listening to us, because we recorded and we are going to make that very public in the different channels. So which will be your call to action, your statement, which are your latest words? And Lelia, maybe you would like to start.
Sure. So closing words. So I think Patrick said it earlier, that we need to start in kindergarten with education about technology and like kind of how do you say, creating this spark of innovation and interest in kids. And I think that's very true. But when I think about it, like who actually makes the design choices and the education choices about the kindergarten? It's actually us adults and parents. So I would rather say, let's start with us grown-ups making these choices. And I would also say, let's acknowledge that it is a systemic and a society-made problem in the first place. So I hear a lot like women just choose the more caring jobs and stuff like that, but I think that's not true at all, and we need to acknowledge that in the first step, and because that doesn't help otherwise. And also because Patrick mentioned a lot of that he's against quotas. I might agree that it may be different in different sized companies, but I am very much in favor of quotas, because without quotas, if we say we hire the best talents, like who says that without quotas what's the restriction to the affinity bias if not quotas? I don't really, well, I'm very much in favor of quotas. I can still prove that I'm good enough once I've been given a voice and room. So yeah, I guess that's my closing thought.
Thank you, Lelia. Angelique, you are close by Lelia in my screen. Would you like to let us know your call to action?
I think, if you're sure that you've done everything on yourself, that you've reflected, that you've taken ownership, and that you're doing all the things you have to do to attain personal and professional growth, and you're still not being heard, make sure to make people accountable, and don't be afraid to be the first one in the room to drive a cultural change. That's my message.
Wonderful. Thank you. Angelique. Angel.
Yeah, my take home message, I think it's to remain vigilant, right? So this phrase of like women are over mentored but under sponsored, that really hit home. I think that it's more about like my call to action is I've had like, of course, like mentor a young female talent, but I think that it's I mean, consciously, I have never think like, okay, can I get this opportunity? And me saying like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I guess it kind of goes both ways, right? So it's not only about like the mentors stepping up and saying like, please, could you represent me, or could I have this opportunity, but also kind of creating those, from the other direction. So I think that that's personally my call for action.
Thank you, Angela. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say let's make sure that old, dusty, gray man image of technology gets away, right? And let's show the world or the society, how creative, sexy, and important technology is and can be. And last but not least, what a big impact on our future it has, right? So the things that tech things or IT or whatever, which gets developed, that's what brings us to the moon. That's what brought us the internet, right? And so on and so on. And a lot of these things actually were invented by women, like starting with a lot of household things, which enabled us to even go and work, right? And going over to actually the internet. So Cisco was founded by a man and a woman. So it is interesting the impact we can have there. So, and we cannot afford to miss half of the world's population building that future with tech. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Nicole. Thank you, Pia.
Yeah, conclusion. For me as well, it's very important to start at the kindergarten. Role models are so important. Me as well, I had a physician, physical, yeah, father. So I did a lot of experimental things at my childhood, and so I started to be an engineer. So there was no choice, and yeah, that's the main thing, I think, to have role models. Oh.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I will also would like to give my latest statement. And for me, is be convinced of your vision of your life. Hello, we have another young man in the room. This is really right. And he has an ice cream. And I'm very jealous now.
He didn't bring me one. I thought he'd bring
me. Maybe for later, Pia. Because of the good discussion. And yes, everything starts in your childhood, and our parenting and our story starts with the very beginning. And if I would like to give a statement, is also be aware where you come from. Own your story as well. Reflect about where are you coming from and how your story brings you forward. Because I heard about all your stories, right? Where are you coming from? Your father, your parents, your education, your environment. And at the same time that you are aware and you own your story, my statement as well is own your vision. Take time for dreaming and think big. Be convinced of the vision of your life and gain support to reach your vision, to fulfill your mission. And this starts with the choice of your partner. Yeah, we speak about parenting, we speak about children, we speak about family. And it is crucial to have someone at your side, in your side, and as your husband, as your partner, as your life companion, who really supports you to fulfill your mission. At the same time, it's very important to have your soul sisters, your community, your allies, right, that really support you those difficult steps you are going to grow. Because yeah, we also have the discussion in Paris, if you want to have success, there is not balance. There is only, you have a vision and there is not a border, there is not work, it's enjoying what you're doing, right? I think you need a kind of balance in any case. And just do it, be convinced on that. Join us at net4tec, join us at Femtec.Alumnae. Enlarge your impact, your area of influence. And yeah, go ahead, because it's fun when you reach that. And if you fail, then step up and go forward. This will be my last words, but we still have some people in the room, and I don't know if there are questions. You know, I see and I read that Marina has also a very crucial point to come back to the point of becoming a mother. And I know, and we have discussed that so large and so long, and even yesterday as well. And they have so many different studies that becoming a mother is one of the more breaking points of all women's careers, right? And this is something that, yeah, is a good point. I think we are working on that. I don't know if you have some encouraging words or some best practices on that. For me, the best practice was to join the Working Moms, to have my peers supporting me and to have some partner that supported me. And I listened to Angela as well, that you are a real ally at home and at work, and that you are really also being responsible father, right? So I don't know if there are some questions in the room. We have room for 2 questions before we close. Otherwise, we will close.
So much input.
So much input. I think I have to thank you, all of you, because it was a fantastic discussion with a lot of different perspectives and different deepness from different point of views. And I love it. I think we are going to publish this discussion in our network. We are going to make it available in the social media for everyone who couldn't attend today. And we would like also to explore the last minutes. Nicole, you have a program as well you would like to announce from Femtec.Alumnae, and I think it's the right time as well to invite you to those programs as well, to those sessions, if you want to share.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the last slide to invite you if you are interested. We will share it in per mail in the end too, because there are some opportunities to join our club without being a member. So how to step in. So there are different groups in Germany or in the DACH room where we meet us really often, and you here are shown the next events for Munich, for example. It's the next 25 June, so they will go to a high group course, and if you are interested, you are really warmly welcomed, and you can go by this link to our contact site and can write a mail to our organization, women's of the groups. So you're really invited to join us. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I think that you have really very sexy events with wine tasting. I read as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Really good. So maybe it's an opportunity to really join and to explore something about how to succeed in the tech world by having fun as well, which is really great. And I also would like to invite you to be part in net4tec and in our campaign, the new phase of leadership. And this is something that we have been driven for the last 2 years, since 2021. We are requesting different people from different backgrounds with different ages, very diverse experts. And we are now nominated by the Impact of Diversity as the best diversity campaign in Germany. And I wanted to show you just one of these. I'm gonna do it from Canva. So let's share that so that you can see that. I hope it works. I don't know, can you see that? Very
yes,
big?
yeah.
Yeah. So this is our campaign, the new phase of leadership. And we invite you to embrace this campaign, to share your understanding of leadership with one video statement that we are going to publish in the social media, like you see here with Silvia Wisner, and you see here with all the experts as well. And at the same time, to be available to run very short 50 minutes discussion in LinkedIn Live. We are going to start in the summertime, and we are going to pursue all the months up to a great big conference we are planning for next year. We are going to have an international invitees from all around the world, where we are going really to deep dive the topic, how we want to work together. And this starts with the answer, what does it mean leadership for me? And that means how I lead myself, how do I lead my team, how can I lead my organization? So having said that, I will say, join us, embrace the power of the community, being part of Femtec.Alumnae, being part of net4tec, exploring the opportunities that being part of those communities, you also explore all the opportunities of our partners and all the other way. So we are together on that journey. It's a long journey, and the more the merrier. We unite as forces, the more impact we are going to reach. And thank you for all the allies, Angel, Patrick, who is not here already, but he knows. And yeah, if you are a man, join us as well, because you can really make an impact in easier time like it is ours. Thank you for being here, Nicole. If you also want to share your words, thank you for being with me on that journey, because we are talking about that now almost 1 year, well, small year.
That's right.
And it's a celebration for my part, and a big thank you as well for Pia, for Angelique, for Lelia, for Angel, for Nicole, for being part of that journey and embrace diversity and work for closing the gender gap in the technology world. Thank you for being with us, all the participants tonight. And keep in touch and have a great evening.
Well
Thank you
done.
for moderating.
That's a good closing. Bye-bye.
See you.
Good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.